will reach back every now and then to get that extra velocity, but for the most part, again, stays down at 93 or so.
All right, so if he doesn't have that elite carry, then why can he work so well at the bottom of the zone, too? Like, we saw Yandy look like he was uneasy at the bottom.
Right.
Basket.
It's just the deceptive nature. It's the low release point is what throws you off. For a guy that is a little bit taller than Drew Rasmussen, he's releasing the ball 1.5 feet closer to the ground. And that creates deception. It has nothing to do with the actual carry on the pitch. It's the release point.
Tell you what, kids, you want to pitch? Get in the pool and do look at this. So unique. When did Yandy ever look like this on a pitch there? Very rare.
Yeah, no. He just got locked up a little bit. File that away for the next time through.
Down the right field line out of play by Junior. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
A lot of guys that have success with the four-seam fastball. Drew Rasmussen's one of them. The Rays have a number of different guys that are effective with that pitch. Taj Bradley, all of that. They have to have it, though, at the top of the zone. Think Ryan Pepia. Yeah. You got to be at the top of the zone. He can be effective. Joe Ryan can be effective with the four-seam fastball, even down in the zone, even in the middle of the zone.
My goodness, what a first inning for Joe Ryan. Tears through Diaz, Lau, and Caminero.
Drew Rasmussen, again, having an outstanding season, 7-5, ERA of 2.78, a sterling whip of 1.
Should go out of play, and does.
Both of these pitchers here today just do a great job of keeping base runners to a minimum, and this is how Drew gets it done. That four-seam fastball, the cutter, he'll use that as a hard slider at times. Two-seam fastball, loves to front door that to the left-handed hitters. Good surprise pitch for him, occasional sweeper.
That's it well, left center field, and instantly the Twins take a 1-0 lead. Home run, Byron Buxton. That's number 20 for Buxton.
Well, let's see what this pitch is, and it's a breaking ball of some sort. That ball was in the mid-80s, and it was the middle of the plate, unfortunately. Buxton got a great look at that spinner coming out of the hand of Rasmussen and put a great swing on it. And you could see, too, where Theis was set up. Theis is set up on that outer corner, and that pitch backed up middle in.
So instantly, Joe Ryan's got a lead. And 0-2 to Willie Castro.
That's usually the pitch that you see on the 0-2 count.
Yeah.
That comeback two-seamer. Uses it here to get ahead of him.
He gets a lot of called strikeouts.
Well, that's interesting when you bring that. I was thinking about that earlier because that pitch for him is his second most strikeouts in his arsenal, comes on the two-seamer. But he only has a 13% whiff rate on that pitch, which is very, very low. What does that tell you? Most of those strikeouts are looking, and it's that front door two-seamer. So it's not a pitch that guys swing and miss at a lot, but a lot of guys don't swing at it and are still rung up.
Well, you said one time they could know it's coming, and still they're going to have a hard time with it.
Well, that's true, but it's also a pitch that Drew will, use the cutter to set it up, to get to two strikes, and it's a pitch that we've talked about. You know that if you execute the pitch properly, you know the result, and the result's going to be strikeout looking, and that's that you know that as you're standing on the rubber. If I execute this pitch, I know the result beforehand.
I always like when you tell the story about the pitcher knows it right after it leaves its fingertips.
Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do. So, there you go. Wow.
And there goes the bat.
Way up.
And there goes Castro.
I'll tell you what, that ball made it up past the first section. Or I'm sorry, the bat.
Yeah.
Cleared the first section.
Wonder if he might just let the fans keep at it.
He just powered that pitch right by him, and see you, bat. Yeah, it works both ways. In that scenario that we're talking about, as that pitch comes out of the hand, you already know. You are struck out, and you don't even know it yet.
Yeah.
And then there's the other example of the pitch that comes out of your hand where you're like, I may be asking for a new baseball right here.
You're just hoping you're not.
You just know it. Right here. Look,
Like
that's
that?
the sweeper. And
Right
look
there.
how it backs up. There's no movement away. It's backing up. It's easily recognized. And those are the ones, when they come out of your hand like that, you already know that something bad's going to happen.
Is that another two-seamer? If so, it's at 97. That's a hard one.
Well, listen, he's probably going to have an abbreviated outing,
Yep.
number one. And number two, not real thrilled about giving up the home run. So he's going to air it out here.
Facing his college teammate at Oregon State, Trevor Larnach. Think of that team. They had Rasmussen, Larnach, and they had Adley Rutschman, too.
Yeah.
Pretty good group that won a lot of games.
Yeah, I'm sure. Goodness.
1-2 the count with Correa on deck. And Larnach uses his time. Well, the way Joe Ryan looked in the first, better not give up too many. Of course, got a long way to go. Buxton's leadoff home run, though, has put the Twins on top. And now Larnach with a base hit. You heard B.A. mention that it's likely going to be an abbreviated start today for Drew Rasmussen. The Rays bring up Joe Boyle from Durham. Long deserved of the promotion. He is here. Rays planning on using him today. We don't know exactly when, but it could be as short as maybe a 2-inning performance for Rasmussen, and it's not anything wrong with him. It's all about keeping those innings down because he's pitched so well this year. They've got a number in mind, and after 3 elbow surgeries, Ray's being very careful. Maybe this will end the inning. Walls to Lau, and they can't turn it.
Larnach got into second base pretty aggressively, and I think that affected the throw coming from Brandon Lau. Either that or he didn't get a good grip on that baseball. Let's quickly set that Rays defense for you. Brought to you by Racetrack Outfield Left to Right. We've got Jake Mangum, Chandler Simpson.
It's got to go after Brooks Lee, who had the walk-off bunt yesterday. And he lifts one out of play off the left field side.
Well, let's take a look at that play, the turn here at second base. You thought for a minute they had a chance. And that ball taking Brandon right towards first base, didn't look like the exchange was clean. And so he didn't get enough on the throw, and it sailed on him because everything was just a little bit out of sync.
Looked like maybe he was holding it in his palm instead of his normal throwing.
Yeah, everything has to go so quickly, and everything has to be done flawlessly. Even if you just go back, the feed by Walls, he was leading Brandon across the bag towards first base. So the feed by Walls was perfect. It was just a little trouble getting it out of the glove and into the hand properly.
0-2 the count to Lee.
When you think about those feeds and how important they are in turning double plays, if Taylor pulls that throw a little bit and Brandon now has to stop, and now he's flat-footed, catches it, and you're not really able to step into the throw to first base. But the way that Taylor led him allowed Brandon to get his feet ready to make a strong throw. He just, again, came out in the palm.
I'll tell you what, we get used to seeing, and maybe spoiled by seeing how fast they turn those things. If you ever get to the ballpark early enough and can watch the guys work on turning double plays, they're doing it 5:30, whatever, how fast they turn it.
Yeah.
I think I get, like many, used to seeing what it looks like at that same speed. But when you're down field level and you see how fast that thing gets turned, it really is eye-opening.
It's art.
It's lightning.
It is. It's fun to watch. I can remember, day after day, sitting up in the booth when they go through that. I'll stop what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
And watch 4 or 5 rounds because it is something to see.
Aranda fields a fair ball, and that's it. Twins get the leadoff homer by Buxton and take a 1-0. The telecast, when it's announced nationally, who are the other All-Stars? I've got to think, when you look at that graphic right there, that Aranda's got to get on. If not, then something's wrong.
Without a doubt. I mean, look at that right there. First baseman, American League ranks, first in average, OPS, driving in a ton of runs, third in that category. How about average with runners in scoring position? He's been extremely clutch. But, his numbers play well across the board. Forget just first baseman ranks. Across the board, his numbers play well, and he has been one of the more consistent hitters in Major League Baseball this first half. I mean, he really has not had a lot of downturns. He has just kept it rolling. And that's because he hasn't deviated from his approach. He tries to do a really good job of staying closed, staying through the middle of the field, using the whole field. You look at his spray chart, and he's hitting the ball all over the place. That's how you hit for a big average. A lot of line drives.
Whacks this one straight up in the air to center. Castro and Buxton coming together. And it is Buxton for the first out. Well, lots of other guys on the edges of their seats today. Of course, Guerrero is already in. even though Aranda's having a better year than Vlad. But there's Pasquantino, there's Torkel.
Extra base hit. Look at the average, 238, 315. Something to be said for that.
And honestly, Aranda is down to 315. He's been up 320s, 330s most of the year. 4 in a row to start the day for Joe Ryan. And now Jake Mangum with Lowe to follow. So it's going to be a day where base runners are really precious. Walks, speed could give you the best chance to score. Ryan just doesn't give up many hits.
Well, 188 batting average against, a whip of .87. So yes, base runners have been very hard to come by. On top of that, when you have gotten base runners against Joe Ryan, they've tried to make some things happen out there. 19 stolen base attempts, only 12 have been successful. So he does a decent job in being able to control that running game. Let's go back to the first inning and show the dominance of the stuff. That little backup breaking ball right there just kind of locks Yandy up. The fastball top of the zone to get. But after an out here, a base runner that can swipe a bag with good speed. You see right there behind Tarek Skubal.
And there goes Mangum. And a foul tip. And he walked Mangum on 4 pitches, too. It's kind of an odd blip there for Ryan.
Well, you're going to try to take advantage of any blip that you do get from him.
You better.
And it didn't take long for Mangum to be off and running.
Vasquez still a pretty good throwing catcher. Mangum jumping around at first, now runs, swing and a miss, and the throw in time. He knows it.
He does know it, and I'll tell you what, the tag by Correa, that ball by Vasquez, he rushed that throw, so it's a little bit to the second base side of second base. And Correa coming across, watch him come across, tagged straight down, got the back of that calf before the left hand gets to the bag. That's an excellent job.
Well, you got to hand it to them. They just made a great play to erase Mangum. And now it's 0-2 to Lowe. And on a check swing did not go. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Yeah, base runner is really going to be a commodity today. Two and two. So you can see Josh Lowe's been pretty hot. Three and two.
He tried to use that cutter in to set up the fastball in and try to get Josh Lowe to get locked up on it, but he just pulled it too far in. So now Josh hoping to get something out over the plate that he can take a big swing at.
Little flare that is caught by Royce Lewis to retire the side. He's going to walk, still only.
eat up some bulk innings. Andy, you had mentioned that workload for Drew Rasmussen. It's expected to be a 150-inning cap this regular season as he continues his return from that elbow surgery. He's already halfway past that point, but Boyle earned this trip back to the big league club. He's been excellent down in Durham. He earned Pitcher of the Month for the Rays in the minors in June. 49 Ks in 30 innings, more than any minor leaguer in a single month since 2019. And it sounds, Andy and BA, like Dwayne... That's a single right there as that one drops in by Matt Wallner. And it sounds like that Boyle could be hanging around a little bit, Andy. He's earned this, Kevin Cash said. A lot of the guys are pumped, saying that they have really been following his success, noting the commitment to throwing strikes and avoiding walks, which obviously had been the big knock on him.
Without a doubt, Ryan, that's the thing. Boyle, I think, is at the point where he's accomplished everything you need to at AAA. So now he's up here, and like Ryan is saying, maybe to stay for a while. The trick, though, for Rasmussen this year, we heard him say that he's a little more than halfway to where they want him to be, and we're a little way halfway past halfway point of the season. But you want him to pitch in October. I mean, the Rays want to go to the World Series this year. So, what really is the right number? And as Kevin Cash has said a number of times, I don't know if there is an actual exact right number and where to have it, but they're making this up a bit as they go along, and a lot of communication going on.
Yeah, and that there's a target. Maybe it is that 150 innings, but is 151 going to do him in?
Right.
Is 160 going to do him in? I mean, you're going to have to play it by ear. How does the player feel?
Sure.
How does Drew feel? How are things holding up? They can tell so much now biometrically. You know what I mean? Is the body still efficient, still strong? Are the attributes of the pitches staying consistent? As there's no drop off in velocity. There's a number of different ways they can measure that and adjust on the fly. But certainly, going to be limited here, at least today, that we know of.
Lewis behind 1-2.
And that goes in with his last outing,
Yep.
which was a shortened outing. And I don't think he was real thrilled coming out of that game. And that was his start against the Athletics. He went 3 innings, gave up 4 earned runs, and came out of that game. The Rays would, come back in that game. Didn't do him very good. But, I mean, they came back and tied it up. But Drew was out of the game by then. And, so you've had that abbreviated start. And now this one, we'll see at what range he comes out today.
I think the whole thing is communicating with the player, too, so they feel like they're a part of the plan and not just being dictated to. I think the Rays are very, very good at that. Over Tommy Watkins.
I think they're better than good at it. I really do. And you know, being down there on the ground level as much as you are and around Kevin Cash and these players, that the communication is the key. It's the key to everything, and they do a great job of it where the player feels like he is as involved in the process and is in the decision-making as the coaching staff and the training staff.
I know it's a little beating a dead horse because everything's been said about it, but the way the Red Sox and Devers were in communication could not have been handled worse.
Right.
And there are dicey situations that come up. I'm sure that could have been handled better, and I think the Rays are a model in how to hand this, which could be a dicey situation if it weren't handled in an upfront manner. That's caught by Walls. No throw back to first.
That situation was handled so poorly, it led to a trade.
Right.
It became untenable.
Yeah.
We need to move on.
All right, well, 1 out and 1 on. Red Sox have gotten back to 500. They've blown out the Nationals 2 straight days and already up 4-0 early in their game today. Nationals are just having an atrocious year in the National League East. So the Red Sox are there. Not just for wild card. I still think they're in the division race too. There's Cody Clemens, who probably had there's a throw back to first, but Wallner back in. Clemens with the 3-run homer yesterday, probably the biggest hit of the day. Cut the Rays 5-2 lead to a tie, and then the Twins could go to the Ray bullpen, and it was going to be tough to win that thing. Twins have a tremendous late bullpen.
And not afraid to go multiple innings with the guys. You saw Lewis Varland in the first game of this series. Joan Duran, same thing. And this is what you're talking about. 5-2 ball game, and all of a sudden that ball... bit of juice, and Clemens had it yesterday. Oh boy.
Throw to second, an easy toss, out.
Boy, that got to be close.
Yes, it did.
That got to be close. I mean, he clearly took off, and somebody yelling at Drew, because I don't think Drew initially saw it, but somebody yelling, hey, step off, and he steps off, turns. Watch this. Yeah, but you could hear him out yelling. And that throw got out there just in time.
Walls with the tag.
That was close.
It was, but they're not going to challenge.
No, not this early.
Caught stealing goes 1-6. Sometimes you see pitchers rush that throw. Drew is nice and calm, almost to the point of being a little late, but he made the play. That's foul ball by Clemens. There are some pitchers, in fact, many of them, and I don't know if it's ever been solved why, but do have a hard time throwing to bases. But Drew was able to make that play, and there's 2 out, nobody on. Each team has now had a man thrown out on the bases today. And then he strikes out Clemens, and we'll see if that's the day or not for Drew Rasmussen. 32 pitches, and we'll see if Boyle's in later on. Draft item from one of your favorite Rays players, so just enter online at Rays5050.com. Lower third for the Rays here in the third inning against Joe Ryan. 1-0 Twins. We don't know why Caballero was a late scratch. Jose Caballero was supposed to be playing shortstop, batting 7th today. And then we found out very late that he had been scratched and Walls was in. There has been no word on that. No reason given. But if we can find out, we'll sure to let you know. Walls had a base hit yesterday. Let's go downstairs now. Ryan may have an answer for us. Ryan?
Yeah, so he was scratched from the lineup late with right arm soreness. So the Rays actually down 2 shortstops today, not just Cabby, of course, but Ha-Seong Kim still rehabbing from that right calf strain he suffered in the start of this series. We saw Cabby with head athletic trainer Joe Benge and going to kind of work out that right arm soreness. So hopefully it's not anything that's a long-term issue for him. Of course, we'll check in with Cabby and manager Kevin Cash postgame.
Thank you, Ryan. That's great info. And, of course, when you're talking about Caballero, you're not just talking about a shortstop. He's a guy that's been playing the outfield as well. So, a multi-dimensional player. There's a high drive by Walls to the wall, and the Rays have tied it. Taylor Walls with a home run. And it's 1-1, the first hit and the first run. There's a little jolt that the Rays needed. Third home run of the year for Taylor Walls. So what was he able to do that nobody else seems to be able to against Ryan.
That looks like it was a changeup, and the pitch got pulled to the other part of the plate. They wanted the pitch down and away. He gets pulled middle in, and Taylor Wall is able to catch that clean and flip that into the stands. That was a shot.
That's a big moment for Walls, not even in the original lineup.
No, and Joe Ryan had fed him heater after heater after heater during the course of that at-bat, and then tried to trick him with the changeup, pulled the changeup, and it was right into the swing path.
Pitchers outthink themselves sometimes.
They do. Absolutely, we do. He can't possibly, he's going to be out. Well, wait, here's what happened. First two fastballs, Taylor swung through, both of them. Then he tried to ramp up 95, and Taylor pulled it foul sharply. So then it's like, oh, okay, well, if I've sped him up to now he got to my better fastball, I'm going to slow him down with the changeup. Not necessarily a bad idea. Problem is, I want it down and away. I pull it kind of down and in, and that's right where Taylor Wall's swing was going. And so I threw it right into his swing. That's my fault.
Explained it perfectly. And now Chandler Simpson has a 10-game hitting streak. And it's not a matter of if, but when he'll take off.
Yeah, trying to make something happen here, especially after that home run. You know that you've got Joe Ryan out there not real thrilled with the way this inning has started. So try to take advantage of that. And how about this once again? 7, 8, and here comes 9. Bottom of the lineup, getting it done once again. These guys have just continued to be productive for the last month and a half now.
Matt Thaiss has had a pretty good week at the plate for the Rays. Has not started the first 2 games against the Twins.
How about our Toyota Keys?
There you go.
The 7, 8, 9 hitters. The last 15 games, they've driven in 31 runs. That's 2 a game on average. And how about the RISP average? Runners in scoring position. That's why they're driving in that many runs. They have been extremely clutch.
Pretty incredible stuff. Especially, too, when you think they're getting on base driving and runs, so then they're on base for the top of the order. I mean, it really is a cyclical lineup, or circular lineup. It is 0-2 to Thaiss. Simpson's not made a break for second yet. Check swing. Thaiss fouls it off.
Ha-Sung Kim.
Yeah. He's dying to get back on the field.
Oh, it took him so long to get back this time, at the big league level, and he's out after about 6 innings.
Simpson runs and then attack foul.
I'm showing the ability, though, to make a little bit of an adjustment here. Thaiss able to foul off the last couple of fastballs.
And down goes Thaiss. First out of the inning.
He got that fastball right in the middle of the plate and was able to beat him to the top part of the swing. But again, it wasn't a pitch that was at the top of the strike zone. And Joe Ryan does not need to be up there because of the deception of the release point. I mean, there's nothing fancy about that at all. And you could see clearly getting over that bat by a good inch.
You got a comp at all for Ryan in terms of the low angle? Can you think of anyone?
That kid from
Woo.
Seattle, Woo.
Yeah.
Very sad. There was another guy that we saw this year, and I hope it comes to mind. I don't think there will, because Woo is the first one I always think of, but it has a similar profile of that really low release point, and it brings a lot of deception to what the ball looks like coming out of the hand.
There goes Simpson. And the same thing happens that happened with Mangum. Not a great throw, but a tremendous tag.
And this time it's Brooks Lee. How about his tag? He's coming from the second base position. He's got to circle back and then make that catch and get the tag straight down and hope that he runs into a leg. Boy, what a job by the middle infielders of the Twins on taking these throws from Christian Vasquez and making the tag. Look at that. Yep, got him. And that hamstring.
Neither throw has been a great throw.
No, they've been borderline bad throws.
Yes.
And the infielders, the Twins middle infielders, have turned them into outs against 2 of the best base stealers on this team.
How about an underappreciated skill of dropping the tag? Think of Javi Baez, who we'll see for the Tigers coming up. And this quickly, the Twins will be out of the inning. The solo homer by Taylor Walls, however, does tie it up.
Set the franchise record for the longest hitting streak. He wants to be out there.
You bet.
So it had to be significant enough that he's not.
Meantime, Joe Boyle is into the game for the Rays. And get used to him, Rays fans. He is going to be a very big part of the Rays in the present and in the future.
Well, for Joe Boyle, he's got excellent stuff. It is about being in and around the strike zone. When he has shown himself to be unhittable. But he can be his own worst enemy at times, too.
We were talking to some people from the A's. Of course, that's where the Rays traded to get him. And they said for Boyle, same sort of thing. Just like you're saying. Dominate in the minors. In the big leagues, touch and go because of the control issues. But the one game we saw him this year, tremendous.
Yeah.
And only good stuff with Durham. And it's time for him to do in the big leagues.
Well, and I think that the way that the Rays go about convincing the pitchers that they bring in, that this is your stuff plays in the zone. Don't be afraid to attack the zone, and this is why. And so I think the why part is why these players buy in, why these pitchers buy in. It's one thing to be told that, but then when you can show me why what I'm telling you is the truth, now you get the buy-in, and that's when these guys go to filling up the zone. Maybe there's even a mechanical tweak that's done to make yourself a little bit more efficient, a little bit more linear.
Well, he's gone 3-2 here to Vasquez. Straightaway center field, right at Chandler Simpson for the first time. Well, we saw him earlier this year just for a one-spot start against Atlanta, and he's about as good as he could be.
What an interesting line he had. Take over a game. He's got excellent stuff. For the most part, had excellent command that day. And then was dominant in Durham. You know, you can look at his numbers down there. A 160 average against for Joe Boyle in Durham. 73 innings down there. He gave up 41 hits. That's it.
And he holds that velocity, too, for long periods of time. 25 years of age. He'll turn 26 in August. From O'Fallon, Missouri. and went to Notre Dame, initially with the Reds. They traded him for Sam Mold to the A's, and then the trade that got him to the Rays with Will Simpson, Jacob Waters, and a competitive balance round A pick in this coming draft for Jeffrey Springs and Jacob Lopez. He gets that at the top of the zone. Good luck hitters. 98. There's the trade. We saw Lopez and Springs this past homestand against the A's. Count is 2-2. Well, the ceiling is extremely high for Boyle. Big dude, stands about 6'5". That's a foul ball. Bounced it. Buxton's leadoff homer. He's got 5 leadoff homers this year, 14 career leadoff home runs. Can't imagine him not being selected for the All-Star team later today. He and Joe Ryan, for that matter. And a base hit for Buxton. Well, that ends up being the first hit that Boyle's allowed in the big leagues this year. Credit to Buxton. Timed that pitch beautifully.
Right out over the plate and didn't try to overswing either. Look how he's just direct to the baseball. Really not even much of a follow through. Just get the barrel out in front of the plate because that pitch is coming in there with some heat on it. And right through the middle of the field it goes.
Buxton a threat to run as well. And there he goes on the first pitch. Easily steals it.
He has picked his spots extremely well, has yet to be thrown out this season.
16 for 16.
You see right there, too, Joe Boyle. That's on the pitcher. That is on the pitcher. There was nothing that Theis was going to be able to do. A high, long leg kick by Boyle. And that's if that's what it continues to look like from Boyle, then you're going to see anybody that can try to steal a bag is going to try to steal. See if he has an abbreviated slide step, something to speed up his time to home plate even by just a little bit.
1-1 here to Willie Castro.
Because that right there takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about a guy who's 6 feet 5 inches tall, to get that leg all the way up where he is with a little bit of a hip turn, that takes time. And that's what stealing bags is all about. It's time. It's a math problem.
Buxton, you got to keep an eye on him, too. He could always take third. Now it's 3-1. Boyle had been working exclusively as a starter until his last outing. The Durham Bulls put him behind an opener. And at that point, we started to think, oh, maybe that's something we could see up here, and that's proven to be the case. Foul ball, 3-2. Well, he's gone to 3-2 to each of his first 3 hitters. On the payoff pitch to Castro. Way outside, so it's first and second. Well, Pokemon trainers can purchase a Pokemon Go special ticket package in advance for the Rays game on Sunday, July 20th against the Orioles. The ticket package includes a shirt and in-app perks. Visit RaysBaseball.com/Pokemon Go. And 3 batters in, it's a visit to the mound by Kyle Snyder. And the whole infield comes with him. Snyder's talk is done. Trevor Lardick, the batter. In his tie game third inning. And all we heard about when we got to town is how the Twins couldn't hit. Going to about a month-long swoon as an offense. Well, we haven't seen that. They've been swinging it okay, especially late in games. And ball one to Larnick. Boyle's going to have to show that he can get in the zone here.
That's been the one knock, so I'm sure Kyle out there, part encouraging, maybe part of that message, something mechanically.
Good slider, 1-1.
A little help there.
Out of the way. You know, my man Guy up here in the booth just told me something interesting, BA, that I did not know. I was speculating on Buxton could always take off for third. In his whole career, he has never stolen third base, which is a little surprising with the speed that he has. But
little surprising.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe.
It is.
I don't believe Guy.
Guy, you making that up?
That really is astounding. With all the stolen bases that he has had in his career, not one time third base.
That's incredible.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, you know, well, first, let's take a look at this splitter.
Just takes off late and got that good arm side fade to it. Larnick have a hard time staying on that pitch. Those are the things that he can feature when he pitches from out in front.
That's it. Carlos Correa takes the first one. You know, they eventually put the reins on Buxton a little bit just because, maybe more than a little bit, because he's had a propensity for getting hurt. But boy, when he came up, there wasn't the fastest player in the game. Well, he thought about going to third, but thought better of it. As Theis runs it down, 1-1 strike to Correa. "25 pitches already this inning for Boyle, with 2 on and 2 out. 99, and it's 1-2. It's Buxton at second and Castro at first. And the inning is over. A strike three call to Correa on the upper outer edge of the plate. And the Twins lead 2. We stay tied.
dancing all these tears away. No time for bad love, bad love, bad love. I'm dancing all these fears away. Don't need you. Dancing all these tears away. No time for bad love, bad love, bad love. I'm dancing all these fears away. Don't need you. Time for bad love, bad love, bad love. I'm dancing all these tears away. No time for bad love, bad love, bad love. I'm dancing all these fears away. Don't need you. Bad love, bad love, bad love. No time for bad love, bad love, bad love. I don't know how or how you do it. You blow my mind without a word. Ooh, stuck upside down. I might be dreaming. There's no way back now. Like every inch of my body, wanna dance with you all night long. Dive in, babe, you know we can't stop this. Come on and show me what you got. 'Cause I don't care if they think we're mad to be falling in love with you. I'll do it again and again and again and again. Why would I fight the things I'm feeling? Rather space out here next to you. Ooh, like astronauts, we're in the night sky and we won't come down. Like every inch of my body, wanna dance with you all night long. Dive in, babe, you know we can't stop this. Come on and show me what you got. 'Cause I don't care if they think we're mad to be falling in love with you. I'll do it again and again and again and again. I don't care. Ooh.
feel so lonely tonight. Feel so lonely tonight.
Pero culpamos la Wii. Soy francés, me dice Wii. Vamos otra vez para París, allá donde te lo metí. Que éxtasis, contigo un frenesí. Latina de moda, diamante de Cartier, tú encima sin brasier. A tu lado, en memoria somos dos carrusel. Mis manos pero ya no sé qué hacer. Solo extraño lo que te hago en un motel. Dime que los besos que chimba si pasan. Estoy cansado que hablemos por teléfono. Tú ves que mi casa es tu casa. Los polvos no se tasan, porque eso es entre tú y yo. Los besos que chimba si pasan. Estoy cansado que hablemos por teléfono. Tú ves que mi casa es tu casa. Los polvos no se tasan, porque eso es entre tú y yo.
The plans of the Rays. It's certainly not over yet. Fouled off by Wallner, and it's 0-2. Correa, in his earlier days, you'd think might steal a base here, especially against a late inning reliever, but he's had a lot of lower body, leg, foot problems, so he has not shown an inkling to run. But he is the go-ahead run. And Pete will get this game to the ninth. Little change up there to put away Matt Wallner. All right, Twins answer the Rays. We're 4-4 to the ninth.
Bat.
Amazing.
That is amazing. Well, Lewis Varland, we saw how good he was in the first game of this series. Outstanding year, an ERA just over 2, and whipped about 1. Great stuff. You talk about a high octane at the back end of this bullpen for the Twins. That four-seam fastball, 46% of the time, 98 is the average. The knuckle curveball right off of that.
It was 6 up, 6 down so fast on Friday for Varland. But they probably don't have Duran today, and they already used Jack. So this is the third member of that big trio at the end of games. See if the Rays can scratch something against him. Walls to center, but not deep enough. Hit it well, but that's out number 1. There's one gone in the Rays' ninth. Simpson and Jansen, the next two hitters, such a big part of yesterday's rallies for the Rays. See if they can do something here when it really matters. Shallow with third, Lewis. Chandler takes very high. One and one. He went 1 and 2.
Again, another pitcher that forces quick decisions because of the velocity. And then if you have any other type of pitch that mimics that fastball, it's going to be difficult for you to hold up on and not commit. Chandler Simpson, we talked about the... Yeah.
2 down. Danny Jansen's first plate appearance of the day. 3 hits yesterday. Bottom of the 9th sees Lewis, Clemens, and Vasquez. Every indication it'll be Pete Fairbanks remaining in the game. It'll be a quick inning for Louis Varland. Rays down in order. They need to get it to the 10th.
victory and salvaging a win in this series. And Bader hits the 2-run homer that ties the game, and that's where we stand, bottom 9.
Well, Pete Fairbanks doing everything he can now to get this thing to the 10th. Royce Lewis begins it. And ball 1. Lewis, Clemens, Vasquez. He was trying to launch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He got a hanging slider, and that's why. That backed up on Pete. And you're glad that it's just a foul ball and strike 1.
See how Twins have won the first 2 games on walk-offs. Rays have never been walked off in 3 straight games in the history of the franchise. Boy, he did get away with 1.
Yes, he did. It's okay.
Follows that up with a very good fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. One of those ones there, you're glad that just nicked the bat and didn't nick the hand. It is 1-2. Time called by Lewis. Junior at third, a routine play for 1 out. Speaking of Junior, he'll hit third in the 10th if the Rays can get that far. Need 2 more outs to get it to extras. Fouled off. Boy, right near Nielsen. 0-1.
Nielsen and Nicholson back at it over there.
That's right. Oh, 0-2. If this game can get to the 10th, I think we'd see Justin Topa pitch for the first time in this series. He's starting to loosen for the Twins. Not to get ahead of ourselves. 0-2 the count to Clemens. Right to Caballero. 2 down. 2 out, no one on. It's Fairbanks against Christian Vasquez. There's 1. Here's Topa. All ready to go. That's towards left center field. Vasquez will hold.
He wanted so badly to turn that into a double off the bat. Just does not have the speed to be able to do it. And that's fortunate for the Rays.
They will pinch run. Jerome Kersey, or Deshaun Kersey.
Right there, he's thinking, I can do this, I can do this. I'm not even sure he hit first base.
Yeah. That's Deshaun Kersey. And he becomes the ball game over there at first base. The batter is Buxton, who pops it up. Playable or not. Caminero to the sidewall. Gets us to the 10th inning. Okay, well, we breathe out a little bit. Rays have gotten this game to extras. Target Field playing the Rays.
Two-seamer, sweeper, cutter, changeup. That fastball averaging 94 miles per hour. The Rays have the runner out there at second base. That would be Danny Jansen. And off we go. Bonus baseball.
All right, man at second, Jansen. Here's Yandy Diaz. Ball one. Pumped out of play. New catcher also Ryan Jeffers against the Rays here. Justin Topa and Jeffers forming a brand new battery. Two balls, one strike. At minimum, as the road team, you got to score the one run in extras, preferably multiple runs. And that should be one of them, as Yandy Diaz splits the gap and sends it to the wall. RBI double driving home Jansen, and there's one. It's 5-4 Rays.
Yeah, that right there. I mean, outside of a home run by Yandy Diaz, that's your best case scenario right there. You've got that runner already out there at second base, and Yandy Diaz, so proficient at hitting the ball up the middle the other way, gets a pitch to handle, and watch how sharply he hits it. That ball comes off the bat hot. The outfielders out there, Buxton and Buxton, trying to cut that thing off, not able to do it because of how hard it was hit. So you get Yandy out there at second base, and now get him over, get him in. Get those two runs at minimum.
Caballero laid down a sac bunt earlier and might do it again. He does. And then the throw gets away. Here comes Yandy for the second run. And off to the races is Caballero. He's digging for third and will be there with no throw.
And I'm going to tell you what, Minnesota had that play so poorly defensed. That ball was bunted sharply enough back to Topa for him to have a play at third base. For him to have a play on Yandy Diaz. Let's take a look at this. This ball gets back to him quick. But the shortstop not able to beat him. He doesn't even look. And then you're trying to throw to a moving target over there. Well, just poorly managed by the Twins, and it costs them.
Does it ever? And I tell you what, the way things have been going for the Rays, don't stop scoring. the more they can get.
I can't believe the internal clock didn't tell Topa to at least take a peek at third base. Now, it still would have been a tough play.
There's a drive deep to left by Caminero. Bader along the wall. It's out of play.
Yeah, that's the other thing. If you're going to have your third baseman crashing like he did, the shortstop has to have more of a head start towards third base. But it wouldn't have even mattered because Topa didn't even look.
Yeah.
Now, he may have looked and said, that's too tough of a play. He still had plenty of time to take the out at first. But he rushed that throw even.
I wonder what role the catcher plays in that play. Shouldn't he be helping to direct traffic a little bit there for the pitcher?
He should, but at the same time, that ball gets bunted back to you as sharply as it did. You're internal. You shouldn't have to have him tell you anything. You should take at least a peek. The ball got bunted back sharply. So the guy that bunted it, right-handed hitter, he's barely out of the box. You got plenty of time to get him. Take a peek at that lead runner. Take a peek at third base. And again, if you think the shortstop doesn't quite have the lead that you need.
Bader missed the catch. Caballero is in with run number 7.
That's exactly what a perfect innings working out here for the Rays. But again, you have enough time where you can peek, and if you feel like the shortstop is not, it's going to be too tough of a play, then you can go ahead and get away from that and still have plenty of time to turn and throw the ball to first base to get that out. He never gave himself a chance, and then he rushed to throw it first and threw it wide. But you know what? Credit the Rays for taking full advantage.
You bet. So 3 runs home, 7-4 Rays. Base is emptied. And there's only one out. Here's Aranda. No balls, 1 strike. Eric Orzi, who in a similar situation in Arizona in April, was able to get the Rays a late inning win and saving one. First Twins get the same chance. Here's a drive to deep right by Aranda. Castro has to play it on a hop. Remember I was telling you about that Cleveland game where Cleveland was up 1-0 in the 9th, 2-out wild pitch. Got the tying run. Well, the Tigers went on and scored 6 in the 10th. And the Rays are, that's how you finish these extra inning games. You take all hope away from the home team.
Well, when you were making that point earlier, that's what surprised me about when the Athletics were at Steinbrenner Field and Mark Kotze was playing just for the one.
Yeah.
Playing just for the one. But in his mind, I've got Mason Miller, and all I need is one.
Meantime, Mangum to the alley. But Bader runs that one down. And you can do that right when you have such a strikeout pitcher like Miller.
Yeah, you can be aggressive with the way that you play that, and that it probably also depends on where are you in the lineup. Are they even capable of playing small ball and getting the bunt down and getting the runner over? I mean, all of those things have to fall into place, and then you have to have that guy that you can say, you know what, you have a runner out at second with nobody out. I still trust my guy.
Yeah.
But that's not often seen when you're talking about the road team.
Here's Josh Lowe. Rounded first 2 out. Here's the thing, too. Buxton ended up making that last out of the night, so he gets to be the automatic runner. The difference, though, now is if it was a tie game, well, he's going to figure out a way to come around. Mm-hmm. They could bunt, they could score with outs. No, that run doesn't mean anything. Rays kind of nullify the Buxton experience at second base.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a case for, whoever's out there on the mound for the Rays, don't even look at him.
You bet.
Dude, who cares? Just you focus on the hitter. That run, him walking to third, none of that matters.
Doesn't matter. 2-0 the count to Josh Lowe. Straightaway center field. Buxton blocking the sun. Has it. He'll be at second to start the bottom of the 10th. But his run won't matter because the Rays scored 3 in the top. 7-6 lead in the 11th inning in Arizona, and he was able to close the door.
That was the bases loaded, 1 out.
That's right.
4-6-3 double play. I remember
Against
that
their big
too.
hitter, the Marte.
Yeah,
That was a big moment.
that was.
Well, here's the thing for the Twins. They want one more base runner. Then they get the tying run up. So it's up to Orsi to... How about a no-drama game here in the bottom of the 10th? Is that possible? We'll see. Buxton will go to third, and there's 1 out. And with a 3-run lead, he'll gladly take that trade. So there's 1. Now Bader, who tied it up with a home run in the 8th. 3 homers in the series. For a guy that only has 10, I should say only, I mean, that's 10 home runs for the year, but 1/3 of them in this series. Just about. A harmless ground ball will get a run in, but the Rays are run out away.
Some efficient work here by Orsi.
3 runs batted in for Bader in 2 plate appearances. 1 out to get. One more to go. Here's Carlos Correa. One and 1. 1 ball, 1 strike to Correa. 0 for 3 with a walk today. That walk came in the 8th. It also chased Mason Montgomery. Fairbanks came on, restored some order, and the Rays got a bunch there in the 10th. Yankees do win also, so if the Rays get this last out, they'll head into the week. 3 games behind Toronto, tied with New York for 2nd place. Red Sox win also. They stay 6.5 back. Meantime, the Tigers will be feeling good, having swept Cleveland. Guardians now have lost 10 in a row. And this would send the Twins to 13.5 out of first. Well, the walk does send the tying run to the plate here. And I've been saying that a little too much in this series.
Yeah.
Brooks Lee, the batter.
That's the way this series has gone, though. I mean, just so tightly played. And yet this is the first one to get into extras.
Well, in terms of power, see those 8 home runs, 7 of them have come hitting left-handed. Beautiful changeup. 0-1. Strike 2. Correa takes second base.
You're taking advantage of a hitter who wants to be aggressive here, who wants to look for something, especially early in the count, to drive. And so he's pulled the chain on him twice and gets the jump here 0-2.
Is it worth trying to pump a fastball by? It's been 3 straight changeups. Or do you just stick with your best?
If I'm Orsi, that pitch right there, I would have gone with the changeup. He could do anything he wants here, but right there. Now that he's spoiled it, and that's the thing, you have to make sure that it's just not, you're not going to just pump it into the zone. Try to take advantage of slowing him down. After the way that you sped him up right there, hitters don't like to get beat by fastballs. And even though that was a foul ball and he was able to spoil it, he got beat by that fastball. So he may be looking to try to ramp it up here again. You can come back with that changeup.
It's by Orsi. And what a play to end the game.
Wow.
Jose Caballero with a little glove flip to first, and the Rays, by the skin of their teeth, pull one out. against the Twins to salvage one on this Sunday afternoon.
I mean, highlight lacrosse. I mean, what are we doing here? What a great play by Jose Caballero on a tough, good changeup by Orsi, but a tough chance. And look at him get and flip that glove and fling that ball to Arando underneath and flip it perfectly, accurately. We've seen a lot of times stuff like that goes awry. That ball gets flipped over the head and everybody's still running. Jose Caballero, great body control, better yet, great glove control. Let's go back to the top of the 10th inning. Our Chevy plays of the game. Playing for